human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining. It is Saturday. Join with Eileen. How's it going?
It's great. How's everybody?
Pretty good. Let's see. We do have a couple faithfuls here.
Do we? Because we were just saying, Dave. Well, we're going to send everybody away from us now. David Wilcox on live, and he never does live streams, and he's got like 8,000 people in his live stream. So that's who we're competing with tonight.
It's all good. Yeah, I was listening at about 10 till, and it sounded like he was wrapping it up, but then he went into something else. I'm like, it doesn't sound like he's wrapping it up.
I think he said he's going to do like 3 live stream shows on Ascension Portal.
That's cool.
That is
chat.
Cool.
Hey, if you want the slower chat, come on over here. If you want to just not get seen, go over there. We can always watch that later.
Yeah, I'm definitely
going to watch it later.
I'm going to watch it tonight for sure.
I am too. Yeah. But here, at least, it's more. What's the word?
Intimate. It's intimate here in a community way.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's hard to. It's easy to get missed in some chats because it's just going so fast. You know? Yeah. Even Leak Project, I enjoy like his stuff, but I don't ever chat because it's like, you know what I mean?
Sometimes when your chat goes crazy in the daytime shows, you slow it down, and that helps a little bit because while you're talking, it's like, wait a few more seconds. You had your turn.
Yeah. Yeah, once I had some trolls hop in, and they run these bots that put all the stuff up there really fast. I have to just leave it on because me and Jose were just cracking up laughing. I mean, the stuff they were saying was vulgar, but it was like so intense because they were like, what the heck's going on? Like
wow.
3 people hop in and they've got some kind of bot that's automatically typing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like really fast. It's way more fast. You could tell it was some kind of bot or a script they ran.
Don't you find it unusual that you no longer have that? It's gone. It's finished. It's like your chats are pretty clear now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That is nice. So I don't know if our energy changed or they just decided to leave you alone. They went, oh, those people are too nice in there. Pull the bots.
Or they hop in and say, oh, he's got slow chat on now. No more fun with that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Slow chat will slow down the bots.
And I do that a lot, too, where I'll type something and then put an emoji like right after. And I'm like, oh, I got to wait to put an emoji. Now it's going to be awkward, you know, but you got to have that there. No getting around it.
Yeah, I can't do it when I'm on my phone. Oh, that's where all my emojis are, but it's too small to really do it fast. But when I'm on my PC, where I don't have emojis on my YouTube on PC, a lot of people don't. It's just words, you know? So I'm putting all these feelings into my words, but it's just words.
That's strange.
Last night was fun.
Oh yeah. You dropped off the call. I didn't even.
Yeah, I was on my phone, and I was on through the phone number, right? Not through an Ethernet cable. And I walked from literally 10 feet from the living room to the kitchen, and the call dropped. You know, I had something to do with my connections, obviously, because I'm making the phone call over the internet.
Yeah, I saw you in the chat later. I'm like, oh, okay, everything's cool.
Yeah, I figured, you know, it was almost 11 o'clock, and I thought I'd really had a big turn. So I thought I'll just chat with everybody in the chat and just, you know, stay here until you close it out. But it was kind of funny because it took you guys a few minutes to realize I was gone.
Well, I was trying to figure out who dropped off. I saw a number went away, and I'm like, is it Vicky? And I'm like, no.
Oh, so your system doesn't tell you.
No, when people call in, if they go through the website, then they have to choose a name. So if they chose their real name,
oh, okay,
then I can tell.
That's why I didn't think you would answer me, because I didn't think you'd know based on my phone number coming through the phone. Whereas here on Hangouts, it just says your name, so you know who's calling you, but you don't know who's calling you, do you? When you do the live stream?
No, just the area code.
That's another good thing, because everybody seems to be really genuine who calls in, and it's usually somebody from inside our community.
Yeah. Yeah, so I ended up, I figured out what number went off, and then I saw it was a Florida number, and I was like, ah, it must be Eileen. So
Yep. I'm just happy to get back in the chat and say hi to everybody before it was finished. But it was a funny show on bugs and aliens, and there seems to be some kind of relation anyway because of the grays looking bug-like. So it seemed to just keep flowing in and out of bugs, aliens, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
there's a bunch of weird stuff with the mantis beings and all that. But one of the things, one of the pictures with when we had Go For It Randy on, it looked like this little mantis being flying, or a flying grasshopper, but it was bigger than a grasshopper. But it looks.
I saw it.
Oh, did you see that one?
Yeah,
that
I saw it on a news program too, on a YouTube channel. Whether that was legit or not, some guy was doing the weather, and something like that flew by. And then Scott Harrison, one of his first videos from his early days, was the same thing at night, flying by a camera with, you know, it's like somehow it set off the light, and then flew by a camera.
Make sure my mic's close enough, because they were saying.
Oh yeah, my mic's miles away. Are you guys having trouble hearing me? And I sounded like I was like far, far away.
Let's see. No, I think. Let me see. I could turn mine up a smidgen, and I think we should be about even.
Oh,
that's
cool.
the main thing.
Is that okay? What do you guys think in the chat? I can't see the chat, but Shane can. Sound pretty good now?
It'll be like 15 seconds before they respond.
Oh, it's that delay.
Yeah.
Well, I had an interesting day because I had my second class or course or webinar with Lynne McTaggart in the year-long masterclass for The Power of 8.
And how did you like it?
It was really good. You know, she went about 2 hours, you know, and she thinks she'd scheduled about an hour and a half, and she always gives more. And she has 1,000 people taking it. And in today's Zoom chat room were 750 people. Can you imagine going into Zoom with that many? And then you could do things on your screen, like you could just pull up Lynn, or you could go down and hover where everything's invisible, right? And you could bring up the chat, and you could move it anywhere you wanted, like on your screen at the top. You could put it down the side, or just do the chat. And that thing was zipping. It was just fast. And then you have the classroom itself, or the meeting room, they call it, right? It's like a corporate thing. And you could scroll the whole page of people's live cameras. Most people had their cameras turned on. So they'd be sitting there looking like this and writing things down and looking around and eating an apple, drinking coffee. Like they didn't feel like they were actually in a classroom. They're very, very relaxed, but there was everybody's video on, but no voice. So you're silent until the administrator actually takes your mic off. So you don't have 750 people coughing, sneezing, you know, dogs, doorbells, kids. It'd be a nightmare.
That's a lot of cameras, though, too.
That is a lot of cameras. So Zoom is pretty cool. You know, I don't know. How many can you put in Hangout? And then when we do hang out with a lot of people, we always drop somebody. Somebody always falls out of it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Because the software I use for the call-in show is for a conference. Like it's like a conference call type. I mean,
no
you can
video.
do it as a live.
No video, right? Yeah, it's right, just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it works good for that, and bringing in people at the same time. You know, that's pretty cool to be able to have a discussion with 4 people, 5 people like we did last year.
Yeah, that wasn't planned at all, was it?
No.
Because it started.
But I thought it's cool because everybody knows each other, but rarely I'm like, well, let's let a little overlap happen, and then they can talk to each other too. So that's.
Yeah, that was like the first time I'd experienced that many from our chat jumping in at the same time, which was super cool.
Yeah, I just rolled with it. You know, it worked out, I guess.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I felt kind of guilty though because I've got 2 nights in a row now. I'm like, you know, oh, should we get out of here, guys, and let somebody else pop in? But it seemed to work because you really have like a 3-hour slot for that show.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed listening to the music beforehand because we haven't had that in a long time. We used to just come into the Love Stream when you started on Friday nights just to hear really relaxing music. Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I just chat along with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I find that Wingmakers material. Which
Yep.
They say it's activating. I feel like it could be. I think it's such a great blend of all the different parts of the world. You know, it's supposed to be like from the future, you know, future composition.
Yeah.
Buried in the past.
A lot of sacred geometry in it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it for a while. I think I should revisit it. And you've got a playlist, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got two summary videos, and then within them, there's links to like some of the online readings of it and stuff like that. Because it's like it's quite. I think it's like 9 or 12 hours of stuff all together.
Oh yeah, you didn't
So
present that. I think you did a couple of shows on it, didn't you?
so yeah, I just sort of narrowed it down. But then if people want to go, I try to do like a summary where if people are interested, then they can dive a little deeper because it is quite a rabbit hole. But I try to summarize it for those that want a general idea what it's about without
Well, just
spending.
tell people what it is, where Wingmakers came from, since we brought it up, because some people listening now might not have seen your videos on the Wingmakers material.
Well, it's actually pretty interesting. It's supposed to be like from a future version of ourselves. Like, I want to say eight or I always confuse how far back in the past, but it was like 700 to 900 years in the future, buried in like an underground time capsule of like 700 or 900 years in our past, for the sole purpose of us finding it today. And it's supposed to like bring in information without being detected by the matrix simulation we find ourselves in, because there's all sorts
Yep.
of things to safeguard the matrix, for it to protect itself like an immune system. So they had to sneak things in through music and art and poems and
And
things
where
like
did they
that.
originally publish all this? Where did it all go? Was it underground art, or was it available? You could go to Amazon and bump into it.
I think it came out around 98 as like somebody leaking information onto the internet. Is how that's like its original thing. But then like the fourth or fifth and whatever the final interview is didn't come out until 2014 because we weren't ready for that information.
98, 08, 14. So 15 years? It was
Yeah.
released over 15 years?
Yeah, like all of the first four interviews
You guys, we
were
can hear you on the show.
the first four interviews were released in 1998, and then the final interview that really gets into the whole hologram of deception and all that information that came out in 2014. So what it
Okay.
was is science needed to catch up with it, and if you follow history, it actually did. We started getting reports of scientists say it seems like a holographic universe and stuff.
And that we're
You know,
living in a simulation.
yeah, all
All
of
that
that.
information.
Yeah, so all of that had to come out first, and then it was time to release that final one, because before that, no one was talking about it, so it would have really seemed really far out
It would
there.
have been really odd. So do you know who actually wrote it and created the artwork and the music, or is that a mystery? And are they done? They're finished releasing information.
From what I understand, they found the place, they excavated it, they got all the information out, they decoded it into this music we hear, and they being the government. There's a secret program called the Ancient Arrow Site, and that's where they actually dug it up, excavated it, but that's where the whistleblower came from as well.
Okay.
So he was the one that leaked the information because it didn't appear that they were going to release any of it to the public.
So is anybody else like covering this except for you? Have you seen it like other places? I haven't seen it a lot on YouTube videos.
No, it doesn't get pushed very good for some
That's
reason.
interesting.
And it ties into everything we always hear about, which
Well,
is
especially
strange.
now with people talking about the event and ascension, 5D Earth, fourth density. It's like the shift. All these things are starting to connect the dots to each other. Whereas years ago, it was just the shift, right? Not the
Yeah.
event and not 5D Earth, because that came from Dolores Cannon a lot.
Yeah.
And Law of One was fourth density. And now it's like you can connect them all, like they're somehow related.
And one of the things they said that caught my attention early on when I was looking into the material was that they were talking about the cracks in the wall, basically, of this hologram of deception. And people would begin to see through these cracks in the wall. And to me, it sounded like, you know, indirectly, they could have been referring to things like we see with the Mandela effect and stuff like that, because
Oh.
these are kind of cracks
That's
in the
kind of
deception.
a crack in the veil, a crack in the matrix.
Definitely,
It's
because
like,
it
how did
doesn't
that
make
change?
sense with the rules that we were taught that
Yeah.
things work by.
Matter's
They don't-
permanent. Once it comes into being, that's it. It doesn't change unless you physically change it.
So the Mandela effect's a big crack in this hologram of deception, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of what brought us all together and what really woke up a lot of us in this community. You know, although it seems to be when you get to know the people in this community, our community, they've kind of been dabbling in this stuff, you know, quite a long time, at least spirituality or metaphysics, you know, or both.
Yeah, or even from more of a scientific view, and they've always been into aliens
Yeah.
and stuff. But
Or quantum science. They've been looking
Yeah.
at quantum physics and spooky science from a distance and entanglement, entrainment, coherence, all those retrocausality and actually understanding what all those, concepts are, because we use them every day in this group.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see how it all ties together.
It definitely does. I'm going to revisit the Wingmaker material just so that I'm a little more familiar, because I remember some of the vivid paintings with everybody says Vesica Pisces, but it's Vesica Picus. I think I'm saying it correctly now, which is like when two circles, like the beginning of life is a circle, and when it splits, it creates that Vesica Picus that is also the symbol for Jesus. Yeah, it's the doorway. You often see Mary in it, standing in it, the doorway of life. But if you turn it on its side, it becomes the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like in the logo.
Yeah, just like your logo.
Yeah. And it's what makes up the whole flower of life, too, all of these.
Yes.
That almond shape is actually called a mandorla, which sounds a lot like Mandela. In fact, I think in German it's a Mandel or something.
Somebody said that if you look at Mandela for Mandela effect, in German it translates into what you're talking about, that almond shape. But I don't know, because I don't speak German.
Right.
I can't confirm it. Yeah.
But that's cool, because that's like you're seeing these two different intersecting circles, like a Venn diagram or whatever. But that area that's created, this mixture of two different worlds, I think that's a good symbol to represent the way we have different histories, or the way history doesn't align with memory.
Or if you split them again and take them apart, it would be like splitting 3D from 5D. But right now we've got both right here, right now, and we're seeing a little bit of everything,
Yeah. It's like a good symbol for the event, isn't it? This sort of
and everybody else has been saying that instead of jumping timelines, because if you jump them, there would be no residue or residual evidence left behind, that timelines are merging. Everybody's been going merging timelines, like things are changing because things are coming together. But you're the first one that I've noticed who said, or maybe they're pulling apart. Maybe what we're seeing in terms of changing is the pulling apart of dimensions or timelines or whatever you want to call that.
Well, it made me think about it with when you have the thinker residue with like the 18 school girls, softball girls, posing like it used to be, right? And you can see how the statue's different, but at one time everything matched, so that would be one. But now we see the evidence of two. So while it sounds like two are coming together, maybe two are being created or split apart.
Because the girls were doing this in front of the thinker, the way it used to be, and then the thinker moved to, was it this? And now it's this? Yeah. So it's wonderful that you can see the people in their original poses, because it immediately tells you the human being is sovereign. The Mandela effect just can't go poof and change you, and just take you from one place to another or one state to another, even though people say, well, it changes the human body. The human body is morphing, but not for just you. It morphs for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't kind of like pick on people. It's like a universal change, a big change, instead of like, although then we have our little individual Mandela effects that happen only to us, like my tires and the guy who carved out a new hole in the door frame for a new door. And then he hung the door, and then the door stopped closing because the hole that he carved for the new door was gone. It went back to the original hole for the old door.
That's weird.
Yeah, so those kind of little sneaky Mandela effects seem to be popping in here and there.
Yeah, I've been noticing more people talking about buildings and shopping centers and things like that all changing, and maybe going from old to new.
I've got one with a building. We have our Shell station that we go to for 6 years that we've lived in this town, and there's only a few Shell stations, and I have that card for 3 to 5 cents off, so we try to go to the closest one to our house. And then suddenly overnight, the Kangaroo station, so it goes Shell, IHOP, Kangaroo, and they all kind of share a road and concrete and buildings. It's like they're a group. And then suddenly overnight it became Shell, IHOP, Shell. So I'm like, well, which Shell station should I go to? The one here or the one 20 feet down? Which one do I want to use today? So I asked the manager inside both of them. I said, when did this happen? And neither one of them could give me a good answer. They're just like, I don't know, it just happened. One said a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and one said, oh, years ago. So, you know, the one in the old Shell station said, oh, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we decided to have 2 gas stations in the exact same place with car washes, with food and Circle K, you know, totally competing with each other, you
That's
know,
strange.
with a racetrack across the street competing with them too. So it wouldn't have been an ideal place for somebody to go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm putting my Shell station right there next to the other Shell station, but there's going to be an IHOP between us.
That
You
is
know,
weird.
it's a bit odd.
And you know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, people say some people can see it, some people can't. I think like the one guy that said a couple of weeks ago, he took the download. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just
Hmm.
he got like the script that doesn't always make sense. In fact, a lot of times when it comes to the Mandela effect, the official excuse doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, like Dolly and her braces, that makes no sense whatsoever. Without they would have cut the scene out. I've had somebody say no, the show must go on and stuff, but they would have cut the scene out. Why would they leave the scene in without her having braces? It's like a 1 minute scene. It would have been in the director's cut without her braces
Or
or
they'd be
something.
cutting it now to go, you know, that's why they can't completely erase the Mandela effect. It's happening too fast everywhere for them to keep up. But they could certainly try using AI to erase it everywhere possible, you know, especially online, so that we don't have the evidence that we do have currently.
Yeah,
You know, I'm sure that's being looked into, that they're thinking, wait a second, how do we get ahead of this or keep up with it, you know?
yeah. And I
So,
think more and more we're going to see things coming up in media and movies and stuff because we've
oh
already
gosh,
had a.
it's already happening. Do you watch some of the I call it younger platforms like Netflix and stuff
Uh,
like that? Do you watch that?
yeah, we do have Netflix. I don't watch it a whole lot, but every now and then I'll watch something.
Because a lot of the new stuff coming out now is all about jumping timelines. There's a new one. It's either Netflix or video or Prime Video. I think it's Netflix, and it's called Maniac, with a couple of current young actors who are really, really big. And they go in, and I'm not going to, you know, give away all the spoilers and stuff, but it's a limited series that just came out where there's like 12 people sitting down, the typical, you put something on your head, like virtual reality, you go to sleep and you start to live supposedly your past life that is causing you problems in your current life.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and 2 of them, although they're not really clear about that, they're not 100% clear of what these people are reliving that's causing them issues, you know, when they're awake. They kind of leave it up to the viewer to decide, is that a past lifetime, a real lifetime, or is it their imagination, you know, like a dream state. Like it refers to things that aren't obvious, that kind of a scene. And 2 of the candidates out of like 12 keep going into the same timeline. They keep sharing the
Is it
same
called Sense
timeline.
8?
This one's called Maniac.
Oh, okay.
And it has nothing to do with what you think, like a horror movie or something like that. Not at
Yeah.
all. And so they've got to figure out, this is a glitch. Why are 2 people going into the exact same scene over and over and over again? So the people involved are like, whoa, have we been connected through time? So I'm going, bing, Mandela effect, bing, timelines, bing,
Yeah.
time travel. You know, it really set off my internal buttons of what we discuss here, and they're picking up on it and throwing it into mainstream media. This one wasn't purposefully negative, although, yeah, it was pretty gruesome in parts. But that's just media today always throws in a bit of blood and guts, don't they?
Yeah. Someone's saying, let's see, Jen saying everyone needs to check out Sense 8. The one that came to mind, I noticed somebody talking about it in the chat recently, was Russian Doll. Now, I guess,
Russian doll.
yeah.
Russian
Now,
doll, where you pull them apart and inside is another doll.
right. Well, it's a show, and I don't want to like ruin it for anybody, but it's basically at the kind of like Groundhog's Day, but a show. Where
Okay.
you know the guy was reliving the same day and
Yep.
changing little things, and so
Is
it
that the
kind of
one
gets
Jen
into
is
the
talking
time.
about? Is that the one she just
No,
said?
nope, not that's a different one. I've seen Sense 8. I mean, I haven't
Sense.
seen it.
Sense 8, like your eighth sense.
Yeah,
They're all over the place now, and they're popping up every week from
isn't it
mainstream
amazing?
media. But some of them are actually quite dark. and are giving people the message that this is a bad thing. The Mandela effect is a very scary thing. And if you go into it, you're going to lose control. Basically, you don't have your nice little safe sound packaged timeline to be in anymore. And one of them's called Arc, which is a really kind of gruesome Groundhog Day. But it's interesting because they go through it so many times. The question was like War Games. Do you guys remember the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick?
Mm-hmm.
And my nephew and I were talking about that this week. And what was that AI computer in charge of all?
Joshua or
what? I can't remember.
I think his name was Joshua.
And didn't Joshua or whatever his name was have to play tic-tac-toe over and over and over and over again to realize there are no winners. So therefore there are no winners, and he didn't proceed with nuclear deployment, right?
Right.
And that's kind of what this movie...
Self-learning AI.
Self-learning, yeah. And kind of figuring out that, you can go through something again and again and again, almost into infinity, and have a different outcome, but not necessarily the outcome that you're shooting for every time you go into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Movies, totally. The Butterfly Effect, their Butterfly Effect 2, same thing.
Yeah.
And one I saw, I can't remember which one, but it went into the hive mind. And it was saying, don't become one. Don't avoid the new world order, the oneness of the new world order. And don't become one with humanity, because then you lose your identity. You lose what makes you special. And it's really interesting because people in our community are always talking about the oneness, the atonement, the at-one-ment of becoming one with each other, but in such a positive, healthy way, without losing what makes you special.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely need to check that out. And Sense 8.
Yep, I'll check that out, Jen.
And the other one.
Russian Doll. I'll check that one out.
Have you had a chance to... What's the one somebody just mentioned? Oh, Travelers. Have you checked out Travelers?
I like Travelers. I enjoy that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Are you all caught up on it?
Yeah. I didn't get a negative message from it, although I'm trying to remember how it ended on this season. Are they going to have another season?
I think so.
So was that Netflix as well?
I believe so, yeah.
So that's a group of people from the future coming back to fix things that went terribly wrong.
Kind of like the Wingmakers, but not
in their reality.
Yeah.
But then there's something secret in their group. They don't know who's trying to throw them off, trying to prevent them from succeeding in changing their own past. What I liked about that was it takes time travel into a new area. Instead of saying, I'm going to put Shane in a capsule and send him back to 1950, like that whole Back to the Future thing, it's saying when people die naturally, we know, because we have time travel information, exactly when that moment's going to occur. And at that moment, when the soul leaves a body, we send somebody in, and they have to continue living as that person did, with the identity, the body, the name, right?
Yeah, it makes for a great storyline, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? But why did time travel movies never think of that before? Because, they go, if you go back in time and kill your father or your grandfather, you can't be born to go back in time and kill your relative. But if you go back and it's not you anymore, you go into somebody else's body that recently became deceased, it doesn't matter, right? Or does it?
As long as that person doesn't turn around and live and kill your grandfather again.
Then that would stop it, wouldn't it?
That would be the same paradox, yeah.
So so far there isn't any way around that paradox. There must be, though.
Yeah, that's a trippy one. But that's just the whole idea of the walk-in that we hear about.
Oh yeah, starseed walk-ins.
Yeah, it's just that same idea. So it makes you wonder why. And all of these sci-fi shows, they always present these alternate timelines, and I think it's helpful to see it that way. But based on the evidence we have to really support that in a solid way, it sure is the default way of looking at.
Yeah, it is default. But what if the timelines are like an onion and they're all here all the time, and you just go up different levels and go down different levels? It's like peeling an onion, but they're all here.
Or they're there as like a wave of potential. until you observe one of the timelines. So instead of it being like you got like a billion timelines playing out currently, it's just more like a soup of possibilities, limitless possibilities. But whatever your focus is on, wherever your consciousness is, collapses it down.
Decides
just like
the timeline, moment by moment by moment.
You're just constantly surfing this wave of potential and collapsing it.
As you
with every
go.
choice. Yeah, that's how I see it.
As you go.
So I see
moment.
it as, like, if you jumped into another timeline, sure, I can see it as jumping into another timeline, but we always imagine that timeline was already existing.
Yeah, that it existed before we even looked at it. And
but
we've
that
just
doesn't follow
seen
quantum
it and jumped
science.
into it. Yeah.
It was only collapsed and became a timeline once we jumped into it. So we really have this zigzaggy timeline.
But one. That would be one timeline jumping all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Through the layers of an onion. Up, down, left, right, you know.
And that would explain why when we jump into another timeline, as they say, we've got the history, what should have come from this timeline, the statue, but we brought the people with us that were posing next to the statue from over here. Because if you just jumped into this
already
timeline,
in there, you know, are we in potentiality everywhere all the time? So they were just waiting for you to collapse it. They were there waiting in potentiality for you to collapse it.
But they would have been posing like it was in that timeline.
You're right. You're right. As soon as you get into, bye guys, kids leaving.
It's almost like you pull them in there with you.
The puppy escaped. So we might hear some noise as they're trying to catch the puppy and bring it back in. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so yeah, I see the difference. Jumping timelines or being in a soup, a sea of timelines, and just drawing them to you through collapse. You know, that's pretty deep. It's really interesting to kind of visualize a model, how you would make a 3D model of that.
Yeah.
Spaghetti strings, you know, does that go to string theory?
I almost see it like one of those plasma balls where it's just like all of this, you know.
Oh, well, like any star that you look at under microscopes looks like a giant plasma ball, doesn't it?
Yeah, doing cool stuff with cymatics and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Well, for people who are new here, there might be a few people who jumped in from Lynne McTaggart's Power of 8 masterclass group. We do things a little differently. Thanks for catching her. Because in the smaller groups, she's doing them up to 12 people now because she has like 1,000 people. It's a lot of groups. Instead of just sticking to 8. And she said like maybe 6 will show up one day and 10 the next time you do it. So the numbers will always be slightly different. They can focus on specific people within the group. And we found that we had so many people, we couldn't focus on specific people in our chat on the show because the show stays up forever and people go to it through retro causality. But in the chat room, that's where you're absolutely free to always put in a request for a healing for yourself, for a loved one, family, friends. You don't have to put their names in, or you can. You know, you can say my friend, and you don't have to use a name unless you want to. And I've noticed everybody is going into the chat and sending their loving, healing intentions to the people mentioned in the live chat.
And that's awesome. We got some powerful people here with
lots of healers, lots of creatives, just, you know, healing, loving, creative souls.
Intercessor prayer warriors lurking in there.
Definitely. So that's where you do that. If you know, feel free to put something into the chat, and I always go back and read it later and give it all of my intention as well.
Yeah.
And we don't even have a topic for this week yet. I just thought we could throw around some ideas. What do we feel like? Is there anything pressing going on out there that we all share in a community sense that we could focus on?
Have we done something with like integrating the frequencies coming in a positive growth? No, we did drawing to us what we need on our journeys last week. Mm-hmm.
That was April's, and we've done healing light workers and healers and, you know, healing our community specifically and outside the larger community, because they need healing, love, and attention and tension as well. They're giving out so much.
Mm-hmm. Have we done something with a connection with our higher self? We have. It's been a while, probably. Though.
It's been a while, because we started doing this, I think, what, in April, maybe? Do you remember? Was it April?
Going on a year, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That went fast.
Yeah, really.
It did.
That means we're at, what, around 50 shows then? Well, 40-something probably.
Maybe May? I can't remember if we started in April or May.
It seemed like it was
April.
spring.
Yeah, it was last spring.
Yeah.
We've done healing earth, healing healing water.
Triggering
we've done
work.
Chemtrails, we've done air. We did the fires when the fires were active. I don't even know if the fires are active anymore because I'm not watching mainstream and I haven't heard a lot about them. Have you?
No.
No. I haven't heard if there was a hurricane in Guatemala, but I haven't heard a great deal about that in terms of, serious damage and intention to follow up with.
No, I see just inner peace. We've done peace recently, I think.
We did unity.
Around Christmas.
Did peace.
Yeah.
At Christmas. Yep. We did unity. We did peace. We did bringing what all of us need in our lives to fulfill our destiny, what we came here for. We did that recently.
What about something about maybe helping bring our gifts online?
Ooh. Let's do that. What do you guys think in the chat? How about bringing our individual gifts online, and then we'll end with doing collective gifts, helping others outside of our immediate community to bring their gifts.
Because it sounds selfish, but we use our gifts on others, so it's really not selfish.
I always try to focus on us as well as the world, because really Lynn's Power of 8 groups, they're focusing on themselves, and their loved ones and their family and their friends. They're not necessarily getting together to heal the whole world. We tend to extend it a lot further.
And that can help people
so many of us
that aren't quite awake to their bigger mission maybe that they have here. So having their clairvoyance come online or something like that could actually help them along their path, wherever they are on their path. You know what I mean?
Whatever their gifts may be. So
definitely doesn't expire. That's a pretty good one, I think.
I think that's a great one. I knew you'd come up with something. I had no doubt. So as we do follow the Lynne McTaggart protocols, most of us have read her book, The Power of 8. She came on the show and she talks about that peaceful entrainment that we do. And this time, usually I do that kind of in a heart maths way, which is imagining a wonderful event or a beautiful place. But Lynn's got one that I want to try tonight that's a little bit different. And it entrains the hearts with the heart breathing and the coherence, but it takes away the need for a protective bubble of light. And she found that if you do this one step, it protects each individual who is entrained through their emotions, their love, and a common goal, which is tonight's intention. So I'm going to try that and then see how you guys like it, because it's a little different. Spice it up a bit.
So it'll be, protected, but protected in a different way.
Protected, but protected in a different way, in a way that Lynne McTaggart has developed through her massive experience and studies.
Right.
Actually, she just puts everything under a microscope and sees how does it work and is it working and
I love that about her.
Yeah, she's very much a detective. Yeah,
I love that.
Okay, so everybody get a drink of water or have a drink of water, get comfortable. I'm just going to turn off my visual here and I will come back after the meditation. Okay. And I think I'll bring the microphone a little bit closer in case I get a little bit quiet. So we're going to start as usual by taking a nice deep breath in and holding that breath just for a few moments and letting it out, exhaling all of it. Take another deep breath in when you're ready. Hold it. And this time, as you exhale out any tension anywhere in your body. And on the third deep breath coming in, hold it for a few moments and exhale out any negativity, stress, emotional discord that you experienced in this last week. And now that you're feeling a little bit more relaxed, you can start to breathe in through your heart chakra and exhale through your heart. It's just imagining that you're taking the in-breath in through your heart, and when you're ready, exhaling in a comfortable pace. And this time on the inhale, bring in a beautiful, clear, clean, and healing light with that in-breath into your heart. And exhale that same light back out to the universe. And continue doing this, breathing that light in and exhaling it as you send a grounding cord down from your root chakra at the base of your spine, all the way down through the building you're in, through the crust of the earth, through all of the layers below, down, down, deep into the center of the earth. And when it gets all the way down there, it just shoots out in all directions like the roots of a tree. And now as you continue to breathe in a beautiful, clear, healing light in through your heart and out of your heart, you're going to imagine doing whatever it is in life that you enjoy doing most. And usually that might be an activity after work, but for many people, it might be what you do at work. Imagine it, see it, hear it. What does it feel like when you're doing what you absolutely love doing? What does it sound like? Who's there, either participating with you or receiving what you're doing? How does that make you feel when you are doing what you absolutely love to do? And if you have many things that you love to do, choose just one of them now. And now we're ready to go into our group intention or prayer. We're going to ask, first of all, in a very small pocket of people, that would be our community here, that everybody's gifts come online, that we all discover what our talents and gifts are. It could be one thing that's really, really special that we do like no one else. It could be many things. It could be several gifts. They could be related or they could be in different areas of life. But let's intend for ourselves that we discover our gifts, and in bringing them out to the rest of the world, we receive all the support we need to share our gifts with Earth, with our family, with our friends, with our community. And when you're comfortable with that, imagine all of your friends and family members, close friends, close family members, and now picture them receiving all the support they need, whether it's financial support, health, healthier bodies, relationship supports, meeting the teachers that we need to meet, finding the students that we need to find. Whatever that support is, imagine that coming now, here, now, straight to the people you love. And finally, when you're ready, if you wish, extend that intention and that request to all the people on Earth, not only those who are working in lightworker communities and starseed communities, the healing arts, or the arts themselves. Extend that request to all of humanity, that people here now on Earth in this century of this time receive all the support they need to bring their gifts to each other, to bring their gifts to the world. And that might mean discovering what those gifts are first. So they might need to bump into the right teachers and the right kind of work that will show them where their true talents lie. And then they might need the encouragement to actually do what they love doing without fear of lack or ridicule. And they might need the support through really positive, loving relationships around them, whether they're partners or friends, people in the academic or arts community or working communities, giving them the encouragement that they need to be free to give their true gifts to the world. And let's just have a few moments of silence now to imagine your community, your home, your part of the world enjoying the gifts of so many people who are allowed to give and receive them. How would that change things? What would things be like? What would it look like? What would it sound like? How would that change your life? What would your family members be doing differently? Just see that, imagine it, as if it's here and happening right in front of your eyes. And when you're ready, just give gratitude, appreciation, and thanks to God, to source energy, to the universe, to your loved ones, to each other in this supportive community here, and to yourself. Release your grounding cord. It just releases down into the earth where it disappears. And start to move around. Move your head, neck, shoulders, arms. Move your ankles, your feet. And come back.
There we have it.
I felt like that was the shortest one we've ever done. Did you guys think it went fast?
Was it short?
It felt short to me. It was like boom, boom, in, out.
I think we started early on it, but...
Was that it?
It felt good, though.
It's usually around 10 to 12 minutes long.
Yeah, I think it must have been around 10 minutes. I wasn't watching the time. I'm not sure.
That's actually a long intention. It's a short meditation or a long intention because in the masterclass and in the Power of 8 for Healers, Lynne would have us hold an intention for 5 minutes. So they felt that 5 minutes was a long time. And then you'd move on to the other person in your group and the other person, try to cover everybody.
Probably need a good 5 minutes, though, with the way our attention span is. It's probably like jumping all over. Like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when we do it every Saturday live on the live stream, I don't get distracted. My mind does not wander off anywhere. Yeah. But if I'm sitting alone in pure silence, doing it on my own for 10 minutes, I don't know, just these odd little thoughts will pop in my head along the way, and I'll have to gently, what you do then is instead of getting mad at yourself and going, darn it, I've ruined my meditation of silence, you just acknowledge it and let it go. Just let it move on, let it move out. Do you do that? Do you meditate in silence, silently?
What I find that helps me not wander around is to connect my breathing with my heart.
Yeah.
So I might breathe in for 3 beats. Mm-hmm. So I'm really paying attention to my breathing and paying attention to my heart, and that combination of the two, because you can't control your heart rate.
No, but so what you're having to pay attention. Your mind on your breath so that it's not thinking of cheeseburgers or right. I need to clean that bathroom tomorrow,
Yeah, and then when I do the imagining breathing in the air through my heart, while I'm doing that, it just seems to really get me in the moment where I can just then focus extend beyond that and focus on the blissful feeling of it
Yes.
being all right now in this very moment.
And that
Everything's perfect.
those techniques originally came from, I got them from the Heart Math Institute, but Lynn says they came from the Noetic Science Institute as well.
Oh, okay.
It makes your heart and your brain go into coherence. So both of them are doing this together. And then it makes everybody who's with you go into coherence. So you're all beating as one and breathing as one, which is really interesting. And it kind of focuses your mind so you can meditate deeply.
Did you have a QHHT session?
No, but I'd love one.
I was just wondering if they do that, the heart mind coherence thing, because in the BQH session we do, before we begin the actual induction process, we do a heart mind coherence with the practitioner and the client, and then the higher selves of our whole team, because there's a whole team behind the scenes.
See, I don't know if QHHT does it as well, because I've never had a session.
Maybe somebody can chime in. That's at QHHT. I'm just kind of curious.
This started like in the 80s with the guys from Heart Math in California. And they would just wire people up and then do different techniques and watch the pattern of the electricity in their heart and the electricity in their brain. And they would see all kinds of patterns emerge. I mean, we could also like breathe in love, exhale forgiveness. Breathe in forgiveness, exhale love. We should probably do more of that. We're always breathing in and exhaling these powerful, clearing rays of light, because the color of the light is up to the individual. And that will heal different parts of their body as they're doing it. And they'll instinctively know what colors to use.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
Yeah, Noetic Sciences. That's we're Persinger, I think.
Is it, or is it
the God Helmet guy? The God Helmet guy, Dr.
I think
Persinger?
so. Or was it the guy who was an astronaut? No, what's his?
Could have been
both.
I'm not sure.
Mitchell's not around anymore, and he started something like that as well. But I don't know if he started the Noetic Sciences. I just know that whenever I see their material, it looks pretty interesting. It's very heart-centered.
Okay, she didn't get the BQH yet.
Was.
Yeah, but I like that, because I feel like that's really helped a lot with like connecting before actually trying to do the hypnosis. So I was just kind of
meditation. It helps you succeed at meditation, don't you think? Because your mind can't wander into things that are worrying you, that have to be done tomorrow, because you're concentrating on your breath, you're concentrating on your heart, you're concentrating on a light or love, and
being connected through frequency as well, from a very scientific point of view,
Very, very much so. I mean, we've been doing this every Saturday night, and if I lead a meditation or an intention, I sleep for 10 to 12 hours the next day in a very positive way, and I wake up very refreshed, but then I don't sleep that many hours the rest of the week. I actually feel a difference by connecting with so many people and their frequencies.
So it's not really a drain thing as much as it is integrating the energies, right?
I think I'm integrating and assimilating, because there's so many of us here, and we're here every Saturday, and even the people who don't chat in the chats, we're connecting with them, and that's a lot of energy.
Yeah, it is.
You guys are all getting it too. You're all getting the group energy.
Can you imagine a world with, I was just thinking about all of the gifts coming online. It'd be like that, one of those shows where people started, like Heroes or something, where people just started realizing they got some kind of new ability and playing around with it.
Yeah, when I was seeing it in my mind, I felt like I was seeing 5D Earth all around me. I could see people doing what they love instead of doing what they have to do so they can survive. It just felt different, and it was much brighter and much cleaner and much happier.
That's like a theory that you don't hear much, though. You always hear, like with the Mandela effect, that, it's, either the devil or maybe God or maybe CERN or maybe D-Wave or something. But you never think some kid in his bedroom just developed some new gift, right? He's just playing around.
Oh my God. And that would be so typical that would be something like that. I thought you were going to say some hacker, some 10-year-old hacker on his computer changing reality, around us. But yeah, a gift. My nephew and I, he's Austin is very much into quantum science. He's about 35, maybe close to 40 now. I don't know. And he's like telling me how Fortnite works and how video games work. And I'm like, there's a lot of similarities between the matrix that's changing around us now and the way that video games have been designed. Because my video games ended, it started with Atari and Pong. I had my own Space Invaders, right?
Yeah.
79.
Loved it.
80, 78, 79. And then when my daughter was young, I got a Wii. So I played all the Wii games up to 2005. And that's it. I stopped. So I haven't seen these incredible graphics where you're playing a game and it looks real. The early stuff didn't look so real.
And you're playing with hundreds of people all over the world,
Yeah, we didn't have any connection to anybody except for people in our room who were playing with you, right?
Yeah. But now you're like in a room with, I think 100 people at a time on Fortnite is a really good example. And they could just be all over, the country.
And you see, the rules of the game are the same for everyone, or the game wouldn't be fair. And that's kind of like karma. That's kind of like hermetic laws. That's kind of like sacred geometry, at least in this playing field, which we call 3D Earth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The rules are kind of the same for everybody. But that doesn't mean we know all the rules yet, or we've learned all the cheats, because that's like a Mandela effect. That changes everything. But it's for everybody. It's not just for certain individuals.
Yeah, it's like a patch to the game. It's like, it's like a Mandela effect, is they've done some sort of patch, changed some things, and from here moving forward, it looks like it's always been that way.
Yeah.
But for those who remember,
10%, maybe 20% of the population now. I'm guessing, because when I see people talking about it, it's like spreading like wildfire, and young people are really comfortable with it.
Yeah, definitely.
They just consider it as normal. They're like, oh, yeah, I know about that. No big deal.
And that's weird too, isn't it?
It's cool that they think it's no big deal, that things around you can pop and change, instantly into something else based on, that's the big question mark, based on collective thought or based on CERN? Based on your thoughts in coherence with your heart, or based on D-Wave? Aliens? Or demons, it's that great question. I wonder if we'll ever have an answer like, prove that there is a God, prove what happens after you die. We can only share our stories with each other, those of us who have died and been resuscitated, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not proof. They didn't bring back proof, like a piece of heaven didn't come back with us,
Yeah, and then science says, oh, it was just your imagination. So how can you ever prove it,
Yeah, and then really brilliant scientists go, that's science. Science is all about imagination. And it's taking the imagination and making it tangible. But it starts up here. It all starts here. Or here.
But I think a lot of people see it, though. I think they don't jump to some kind of crazy conclusion like matter changing in an impossible way, right? They just think JCPenney changed their logo for some reason, start spelling with an extra E in there or something. I think a lot of people see it. I think there's something for everyone. You think
they don't know it like that? They see it, but they don't recognize what they're seeing?
Yeah, because I did that with several things. I'm like, why'd they change Funyuns the way it's spelled? It was just kind of weird, but I didn't think it's never been spelled the way I vividly remember it being spelled. And
so yeah, like you were saying last week, you have to do the research to see whether or not something actually has been changed legitimately by the people in charge of it, or they go, it's always been that way.
I'm sure there is some people who are like just curious. They're like, why out of all this time did Brax just now change their name and take the S out? And just out of curiosity, they're like, I wonder if they were sued. I got to look into this. This is weird. And then all of a sudden they find out about the Mandela effect. Some things like that probably do happen.
And
but for most part, people forget
it. Like Moneybags did a video last week on kids cuisine. So we all kind of remember it, don't you guys, as kids with the plural cuisine, right? And now it's kid cuisine. It doesn't sound right, but think of it grammatically. Because that means kid food, kid cuisine. When it was kids cuisine, it needed the apostrophe before the S to be kids cuisine. It didn't have it. Or it needed the apostrophe after the S to be food for all kids. and it didn't have it. So technically it was not grammatically correct, but that's how it was. And now it's corrected. It's like, it's corrected, but it sounds weird. That makes me feel more of like an AI correction. Like, ooh, who made that correction? Must have been a bot, must have been a robot or a computer.
Yeah.
Right? Kid cuisine.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah. And like, what in Tidy Cats?
Tidy Cats became Tidy Cat and then went back to Tidy Cats. Just like the Flintstones went from Flint Stones to Flintstones. Now it's back to Flint Stones.
Yeah. That's a trippy one too for me.
Yeah. Did you see it when there was no T? I was like, God, that looks weird.
That's when I first discovered it. Let's see, all of my flip-flops, I discovered them after they changed once. And I was sitting there and like, no, it used to be the other way. But not changed
back, because I think I saw the Flintstones on one of your videos a couple years ago.
Yeah. And that's weird. That's so weird, because I've seen other videos where, like, there was this really big YouTube channel that were talking about Rice Krispies treats instead of Rice Krispie treats.
Yeah.
And then I think it had flip-flop back. So she's sitting there saying, I know it used to be this, and then it is that now. And it's like, oh,
and that makes people look doubly crazy. It was this, and it is that now. But there was a time that you guys don't know about when it changed. You know, it's like once it's flip-flopped, you got to move on to something else.
Right.
Back to the original.
I think like the C got swapped out for a K or vice versa, or something else changed. But she was spelling it out, and it wasn't matching how it was anymore.
Okay, so. Like when you hit spell check, and it spell checks the wrong words, and then when you go back and proofread it, you're like, wow, spell check didn't catch that because it's technically correct, but it's not right, so I'm going to go in manually. That's kind of what's happening with the Mandela effect. Things are changing that aren't feeling right, but they might be technically right, you know? Mm-hmm. But we would never do that if we had a choice, but it's just being done like hit spell check, boom, your whole document is checked by a computer.
But it can't get in there and alter the human consciousness for the most part.
No, I don't think it can. I think we have a lot of, I think this is sovereign, especially if this that makes us is connected to God in any way. Nothing can touch that.
Yeah, I agree.
No computer, no alien, no anything.
Totally agree with that. Nothing to worry about.
Nah, not on this channel, not in this place. We don't have anything to worry about.
Well, that's been good. Let me see if I'm missing anything in the chat here.
Any questions or anything big? I'll go back and watch them. I'll go in the chat tonight. And thanks for sending me links, guys. I'll go back and watch those probably tonight or tomorrow night. I'm doing a garage sale for a community center tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's see. Is there anything else? This one kind of went short.
Oh, yeah. Cynthia Sue Larson is coming.
Oh, yeah. That's next week, right?
Next week. This is what we used to do. We used to just do an hour. It's just lately they've been going an hour and a half, 2 hours. So this feels like a short and sweet one. Cynthia Sue Larson is kind enough to come on next week and talk about both of her books, Reality Shifters and Quantum Jumps.
Do you want to tell, for those who don't know, who Cynthia Sue Larson is? You want to explain?
Yeah, she is oh boy, I can't remember her title, but she is like she's not a metaphysician. She is what's a scientist who does physics? What are they called?
Physicist.
She's a physicist. There you go.
Right.
So she's like the real deal scientific background. And 20 years ago, she started writing about reality shifting and reality shifters. So she tuned into this information long before most of us did. Which is okay. I'm not saying that that's, that's important. And she doesn't run around telling everybody that all the time. When people say, oh, the Mandela effect started in 2012 and it was named by Fiona Broome in 2009. Well, here's this physicist who is out there writing books about changing your reality in like 1999.
Right.
Yeah, like 10 years earlier.
Definitely ahead of her time. I'm excited to have her on.
And she's friends with like Lynne McTaggart and Deepak Chopra and Joe Biden. And who's the guy that you like? We always forget his name. He's so good. Bruce Lipton. No, that's my guy. I like Bruce Lipton. He's in New Zealand now. He can't come on because he's in New Zealand.
Particle guy.
Greg Braden?
Yeah, Greg Braden. Yeah.
So those people all hang out together because they're on the same talk circuit, apparently.
Yeah.
So they all know each other, and Cynthia Larson is one of them.
Yeah, I would love to have them all on at some point. So it'd be awesome. Yeah, I
Well,
think it was Brighton that had the video of the doctors that were using their intention to heal somebody, and you could see it disappearing on
China
the.
or Philippines, something like that. It was in
Yeah,
Asia. He
you
spent
could
a
see it.
lot of time out in Asia.
You could actually see it on a video. I don't know what you have to look up to see it, but there's a video online.
I've
Greg
seen it years
Braden,
ago.
tumor dissolves in 3 minutes or something like that is
Yeah.
in the title. But yeah, you can see it just dissolving away. That's like, what? That's
And they
crazy.
videoed it, and I think, wasn't it internally? You could see what was going on inside the body as
Yeah,
well, with some kind of a
ultrasound or
laparoscopy or
something.
ultrasound. Yeah,
Something like that, yeah.
I saw that years ago. He's a real ahead of his time. He was an aerospace engineer. Dr. Bruce Lipton. I don't know if he wrote The Genie in Your Genes, but The Biology of Belief. You change your genes with your emotions. That's Candace Pert.
Hmm.
These are heavy hitting scientists who have gone straight into metaphysics based on their discoveries.
The true spirit of science.
The
You know,
true spirit of science.
going where the evidence leads you. Who would have ever thought of that?
Instead of trying to create the evidence that supports what makes the most money for corporations. Not that kind of science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it's just become another religion. You know?
Yeah. And nobody trusts it or believes it anymore anyway. So they're really looking for those true scientists like Cynthia Sue Larson, who are out there on the edges of reality, testing and pushing the envelopes even further.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about having her on.
Me too. It's going to be fun.
She's been hip to this for a while.
Yeah. And I said, it could go an hour or 2 hours, whatever you feel like. We'll just go with the flow and see how much she wants to talk. And I think she's going to do a meditation for us. I think she's willing to lead a meditation, if I remember correctly.
Awesome.
I'll double check, though, before we put her on the hot seat.
Okay. We'll make sure she's cool with it. So
Yeah.
we like our guests to be comfortable.
We like them to be comfortable and not go, here's the mic. Now lead us into a group intention. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it might be funny if it's my sister or something, but not Cynthia. I don't know her that well, so
Yeah, I think she's comfortable with it, but I'll double check. And that's next week.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Lots of love to you guys out in the chat, and we appreciate you being here. Put any prayer requests or anything in caps so everybody can see it. And,
Yeah, please put your intention requests in the chat.
And I think that will do it. Thank you so much, Eileen, for coming on again.
Thank you,
Leading
Shane, and
meditation.
thank you everybody in the chat now and in the chat in the future who come back in the future to see this and participate. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you again next week.
Bye. Much love.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.